On July 29, 2021, the top 7 picks in the NBA draft were selected and confirmed a recurring theme that we have been dreading to admit for all these years. We have thought that since the beginning of time that it doesn't matter where you came from, that as long as you worked harder and smarter than everyone else, you could make the NBA. However, there's one thing that we missed, as much as it pains us to admit, and exactly 6 of the top 7 picks in the 2021 NBA draft showed us exactly what we missed. So what did we miss? Well, it's related to the price it takes to go pro and how much it represents itself in the NBA drafts as of today. And I'm not talking about the years of hard work, dedication, and endless training that it takes. Think of the dollar cost, and it's much higher than you think. Firstly, most of these players getting drafted have attended an elite high school program, and these elite high schools, a lot of them are private and come at a cost. In the 2019 NBA draft, of the 24 first-round draft picks who attended American high school, 16 of them attended private schools. That's almost 66%. Keep in mind that the average private school tuition is around $11,000, not something the average American family can easily afford. However, keep in mind that most of these players aren't going to just normal private schools, they're going to basketball prep private schools. Some of them, like Orangeville Prep, with alumni like Jamal Murray and Lou Dort in the NBA, have a tuition of over $28,000 a year. The average American income is $31,000, and that's almost the same as the tuition. That's just not affordable for most families. The advantage a player can take from using all the resources that these schools can offer, like unlimited access to gyms, training, and equipment, is overwhelming compared to what is available at the average public school. And with this in mind, it's starting to make sense why more and more NBA prospects are coming from more well-off families. You also can't forget about what these players do outside of school, like AAU basketball. The price of joining an AAU team can be very expensive. Now, the very talented few are able to get on a team sponsored by Adidas or Nike and not have to pay. But for the others, joining a team can range anywhere from $400 to $4,000. However, keep in mind that actual process is going to games. A lot of these games that happen in different cities, you have to crash at a hotel for a few days. That could be an extra $500 per trip that adds up per weekend, and that adds up fast. Can the average American family really afford that? But also keep in mind that high school basketball players from wealthier families have access to a wider breadth of knowledge than those who don't. For example, they can afford private training for fitness, nutritionists for diet, and coaches for skill development. And when working from a child from a young age or even a young teenager, those advantages can add up over time. Nowadays, a lot of these NBA draft prospects come from families with athletic backgrounds. Players like Andrew Wiggins and even a player like Jalen Suggs have the advantage of being around the world of athletics and sports for pretty much their whole life, and have the knowledge of what is needed to reach the pinnacle of success in basketball. Well, what kind of advantages does it generate? Andrew Wiggins' dad played in the NBA, and his mom was an Olympic silver medalist for track and field sprinting. It's no wonder that Andrew Wiggins is one of the most athletic forwards in the NBA. However, someone without those connections and genetics might struggle. Let's look at cases from the past of 3 prominent successful NBA players: Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Steph Curry. Now, at first, it may seem that players like Kevin Durant and Giannis contradict this proposed idea of the power of wealth and the advantage it creates in the NBA draft. However, if you look at the traits that players like Kevin Durant and Giannis were drafted for, it's not necessarily work ethic and developable skill. According to NBADraft.net, Kevin Durant is a dynamic wing player with freakish length and agility and a scorer's mentality, has potential to become a great defender with a 7'5" wingspan and great leaping ability. Now, I don't know about you, but the only points from there that are basketball skills are a scorer's mentality, and that's precisely the point. NBA players like KD were able to make it through without the connections because of a combination of freakish athleticism, size, and basketball skill. The same could be also said for Giannis. Athletic wing with a remarkable 7'3" wingspan and incredibly huge hands. Now keep in mind, Kevin Durant and Giannis are actually 6'11". Only 1 in 630,000 people in the US are taller than them. That's not something you can easily achieve. However, in the absence of freakish athleticism or size, the presence of basketball skill becomes ever so important, and it is still possible to make the league. Well, let's look at Wardell's Steph Curry. There are some points on here about athleticism, but the vast majority are about his basketball skill. For someone without freakish athleticism or size, players like Steph Curry have to maximize every possible basketball skill they can to make it to the league, including floaters, jump shooting, dribbling, everything. And we all know which one he's the best at: shooting. However, what might have led to Steph Curry becoming so good at shooting is not necessarily just his work ethic, but also another part, his dad, Del Curry. Del Curry, former NBA 6th Man of the Year, and more importantly, a career 40.2% three-point shooter, is a big proponent of Steph Curry's development of his shot. Steph Curry himself has even said that his dad helped him work on his shot and game when he was younger. This is an advantage that some players dreaming of making the NBA simply do not have. And now, this is not to knock him, there's still an abnormal amount of effort, work ethic, and dedication needed to make it in the league, But when you look at his brother Seth Curry, who also has amazing shooting ability and the same dad, this further drives home the point on the value of connections making the NBA. Now, what did the statistics show? There was some research published in the International Review of the Sociology of Sport, which studied a group of NBA players from 1994 to 2004. The research shows that most players in the studied range came from the middle or upper class families, and it showed that in comparison between potential basketball prospects and those who actually made the NBA, the latter group were significantly better off in terms of social origins than the former, which could include social status, money, and security. Now, for the players studied, this is kind of a shocking statistic. The child raised in a lower class family have around a 40% less likelihood of making the NBA. So the statistics support the theory that the players from well-off families have a much better chance than others. But also look at the families of some of your favorite NBA players. Let's look at the Golden State Warriors, 2022 NBA champions and the epitome of heart and skill over natural talent and size. Let's look at their top 4 players. Did Steph Curry grow up in a middle class family? No, his dad was a former NBA player. How about Klay Thompson? No, Michael Thompson. How about Andrew Wiggins? No, his dad was in the NBA too. How about Draymond Green? You know what? That's the one out of the 4 that grew up in a pretty average situation. Now, stories like Draymond show you that it's possible, but you're fighting an uphill battle number-wise. That's 3 out of 4 that did not grow up in a middle-class family and grew up in an upper-class family. I've always hated videos like the one I'm making right now because I feel like they're not really productive, so I'm going to provide a solution. I think it entails 3 parts: scholarships, community involvement, and education. Now, when it comes to scholarships, there's some really good examples already, like schools like La Lumiere School, which Jordan Poole and Jaren Jackson Jr. have attended, who provide scholarships to outstanding athletes and encourage them to develop their skills. But also another thing is also making basketball more accessible. Players like Ja Morant and Jalen Green have made courts in very, suburban areas or areas that don't really have too many basketball courts, which only makes the sport more accessible. And the last example is education. If we can get people knowing what you need to make the league from a young age, this could help offset the advantage that people from wealthier families have who are well connected. Now, thanks for watching the video. I hope you all took something away from it. Talk to you later.